There's somebody for every job on earth. Some of the most disgusting jobs, the dirtiest jobs that you couldn't imagine doing without throwing up. There's people who are built for that. There's people who might not be their favorite thing on earth to do, like eating ice cream, but they can handle that crap and they can do it, and they feel a sense of satisfaction in doing it right and getting it done in a way that average people would start vomiting just by getting close to the facility. There's someone made for everything. There's people who love going through math problems and figuring out the little details and stuff, and they make great accountants. And then there's people like me who that stuff just makes their head spin. All they want to do is take color and shape and move it around and make it look as amazing as possible. Some of those accounting people look at the art and they can appreciate it, but they haven't the slightest idea how to take color and shape and move it around and make it look like that. And so we're all made for something specific, and you know what it is. You've known since you were 4 years old, and you've known even more clearly since you were 12, 14, 16. You know what you're good at. You know what gets you excited, where you flow in, where you don't need anyone to tell you how to do it. You just need them to step back and give you the materials and let you go. You know what you were meant to do, where your skills are at, where your heart is at, where your passion is. So how many of you are doing a career or just living a life where you don't do those things that you really, really wanted to do? I was a school teacher for 5 years, and I went out of my way to make sure kids learned to read. The ones falling through the cracks, I tutored them extra time. The ones who came to me 2 and 3 years behind, I went out of my way to develop special little tools to help them catch up. And most of the kids, I was able to get them further than I think they would have gotten if I just stuck to the standard curriculum. And I'm really glad about that, because reading is absolutely fundamental. Doing basic math is absolutely fundamental to be a successful adult on this earth right now. But after that, after reading and math, the most fundamental thing we don't teach kids in general. Some parents might. I would guess more than half do not. And this is something that you might learn when you're 50, you might learn when you're 60 or 70. It doesn't matter when you learn it. You need to learn it, because it makes a difference between you just going through life and victoriously attacking and living the whole reason you were put on this earth, the whole reason the blood is pumping through your veins and the air is being breathed in and out. And that's that third thing that's vital, is that you got to take risks. You got to throw yourself out there into the unknown. You got to see when the landscape looks like it's only 40 or 50% good enough and say, well, let's give it a shot, and jump out there and be willing to fail and mess up and fall flat on your face in the mud and pick yourself up and say, okay, what have we learned? Because that's not a failure. That's 50% you got there. And now you're in the mud, face full of mud, sitting there looking around, and you're 10 feet closer than you were if you had just stood there staring at the mud thinking this doesn't look ideal. That's the only way people make it. Like, some of the richest entrepreneurs were in a panel, and they were asked, like, what's your biggest regret? What do you wish you did more of? And these are people 50s, 60s, 70s, worth tens of millions, hundreds of millions. And their biggest regret, and one of them said it and the others all nodded, and they're like, yep, I wish I had failed more. I wish I had had the courage to try more things and mess them up and make them a total failure, because every failure brought them closer to their dreams. And they had knocked out plenty of their dreams at 50, 60, 70, sitting on their tens of millions. But how many people stay at a job that they don't like for 40 years because they're scared to leave? And there's nothing wrong staying at a job for 40 years if you're good at it and it makes you proud and you know that it's a good fit for you. That's super. But If you're sitting there complaining and you spend all day thinking, I can't wait to get home to do something I really want to do, and then when you really get home, you're so tired, all you can do is sit there and watch TV, and then the next day you just do the same thing over again. Like, how long is it going to be? When are you going to say to yourself, it's time for me to attack that dream? There's no limit, there's no end date. As long as you're breathing air, as long as your veins are pumping blood, there is no end date. You could be 78 and it's time. If you haven't done it yet, it's time. If you have 2 years left, 5 years left to live, take those 2 or 5 years and make them what all the other years could have been. Do it now. Start now. Because the moment you start, you will bump up to another level of excitement that you might not have experienced for years. And you will be like, I wish I did this sooner, but I'm so glad I'm doing it now. So do it now. Turn off this video and start. You got this.